What's up guys, Big Fats here with another guide. Now in these guides, I'm going through some of the fundamentals of football. Basic concepts and how you can use that to your advantage. Now if you have the ball, you're either passing it or dribbling. Now in my earlier video, I addressed how to pass and create space, which brings us to the second fundamental aspect of football, which is dribbling. While helpful, you do not need to be a good skiller to be a great dribbler. This isn't because skill moves are bad. I think skill moves are a good way to become a better player. The reason I mention this is because a very common comment I see people make is, I'm not a good dribbler. What skills do I need to learn? I don't skill. I'm not a good skiller at all, but I would say I'm a great dribbler. Now, dribbling does not mean you have to beat your opponent. It's about finding space and how to exploit that space without passing. Now, sometimes that means your opponent is in that space, and dribbling is a way to draw him in so you can take advantage of the space he leaves behind. Keep in mind though that anytime you challenge a defender, you're giving him an opportunity to win the ball. So if he hasn't given you any space to exploit and you still try to challenge, you've already given the defender an advantage. Now finding space and drawing in defenders can be done in many different ways. You could use skills or other tricks. In this guides, I'll be focusing on how to put yourself in positions where it's easy to achieve that, as well as some easy techniques and tricks on how to be able to do that. The clips will always show what I mean, but I will also be giving detailed breakdowns. Now, in FIFA, there are three main ways to dribble. You've got left stick dribbling, strafe dribbling, and agile dribbling. The best way I could describe them would be that strafe dribbling has the ball as a reference and the player follows the ball, keeping it close. It's useful in straight directions. Agile dribbling is using the body as a reference and agile movements where the ball will follow the player instead of the other way around. Effective in diagonal directions, but left stick is normal dribbling. To get the most out of it, I'd say you have to use it in circular motions instead of flicks. I personally use strafe dribbling a lot. I know other elite or top players that prefer agile or left stick dribbling, but the best one for you to use is the one that suits your style. I'd recommend trying them all out and see what fits how you want to play. Your first touch is what determines what you can do after you receive the ball. It sets you up for any following decision. So there's two things you need to think about when taking your first touch. One is a command in the game that helps you take a good first touch, and the second one is where you should take it. Using L1 when you receive the ball will position your player closer to it to make the next command be executed faster. This is especially effective in tight situations such as in and around your opponent's box. Pay attention to how much faster the player releases the ball. That could be enough of a difference for you to score a goal. Secondly, you should always look to take your first touch into space. Anytime you move into a space or you turn to where there's a defender, you're giving the defender a chance to challenge for the ball and win it. Taking it into where there's space removes that option entirely. If you want to challenge a defender, never do it with your first touch, especially with how inconsistent FIFA can be with first touches. You want to put yourself in a position where you know all variables. Now sometimes there is no space for you to move into, so an easy solution is just to move backwards. Move toward where the ball was coming from. This gives you a few seconds to see what's happening and react. And sometimes even then, if you're completely surrounded, a quick pass backwards is always better than trying to turn and losing the ball. In my last guide, we talked about what was natural for the player to do. Now this applies when dribbling as well, but not to your player, but to the defender. Taking into account what angles he's coming from, how much speed he has, and what direction he's running in, you can all use that to your advantage when you want to dribble past your opponent. In this example, we can see that the defender is running up with pace, which means that he's looking to potentially cover the dangerous space that is up top. Knowing that, if we turn, he's going to run past, which is going to give us a few seconds to make a decision on what we want to do next. Patience is so important when you're dribbling with the ball. If you're in a situation where you've outnumbered your opponent, or you're in a situation when he's not pressing you, he's just cutting off space, take your time, move up. What you're doing when you're moving up, you're forcing your opponent to react. Either he has to press you, which opens up passing options or dribbling options, or he cuts passing lanes with his CDMs like many people do, and you've got so much time to do whatever you want. In the first example, he's locked between either cutting the lane or blocking the shot. And the second one, being patient, let me decide what to do after he's opened up one option. There's no need for me to do anything other than move up slowly. The pressure is on him to do something to force an action out of me. If he doesn't, it becomes very easy to move up uncontested. Now this next technique is one of my favorite techniques. As I mentioned before, when dribbling, you want to lure your opponent in to exploit the space he leaves behind. And one of the most effective ways to do this is the Herrera spin. It is very easy to learn. You can do it in 2 different ways, and the movement is almost always enough to fool the defender. You make him believe you're going to turn to one direction, and when you see that he commits to that direction, you turn to the other side. And the good thing about this is you don't have to actually challenge. If you decide that you do not want to turn, you could always change your mind. While I use it primarily in and around the box, it can be used anywhere to relieve pressure. There's 2 ways to do it. The first is to press L1 plus R1 and move the left stick in the direction the ball is coming from, as you see in the example. The second one requires no inputs, just left stick movement. You put the left stick in the opposite direction of where you want to go, and then you turn it in a circular motion to where you actually want it to go to begin with. It is extremely easy to learn and very useful. Another easy way to take advantage of space that's open in the field is the change of pace. Going from the L1 close control dribbling into R2, which is pace, gives an unexpected burst of pace that you can use to get past your opponent and open up space for a shot or a pass. This is more effective when we're trying to get a shot off, as passing with pace makes the pass a lot more inconsistent than passing when you have the ball under control, whereas the pace is useful for getting a powerful shot off. Now this works both ways. You can use it to go from slow to fast, but you can also use it to go from fast to slow. Switching those up could confuse your opponent and make him run past you, which means you can move up uncontested. Easiest way to get it done is to move up normally with no movement inputs, and when you notice that the defender's coming in with speed, you press L1 to slow down and have him run past. Another useful technique that isn't hard to learn is the ball roll. I primarily use it in 1v1 situations as a goalkeeper and to open up space for a pass or a shot, but in general you can use this anywhere you want on the field. For example, if you're running side to side to your opponent and you see a potential pass on the other side, but you're afraid the pass is gonna get blocked, doing a ball roll will open up space for you to actually be able to get that pass through or that shot. Now generally, dribbling is all about reading and outplaying your opponent, especially in how you take advantage of open space, and that needs experience to learn, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. I believe that being able to switch up from dribbling and passing makes you very hard to defend against, even if you do not skill. But skilling could be a very useful tool if you enjoy that. Dribbling specifically can be done in many different ways, but the most important thing is that you go for a style that suits your play. But yeah, that was what I had for this guide on dribbling. If you would like to keep in touch outside of the videos, I do stream my games on Twitch, or you can follow me on any social media platform. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave a comment. But until next time, have a good day.